Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of AWS Tech Tales. I'm your host, Matt Burke.
And I am your co-host, Amara Reaño. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great start of the week.
Yeah, welcome back. We were off last week because of Labor Day. We already got Shadow YT saying hey in the comments. Let us know down below where you are, where you're tuning in from. Give us a shout. Yeah, we were off last week for the US holiday for Labor Day,
Mhm.
so it felt like a nice break. I don't know if it felt like for
It
you.
did. It did. Actually, it was so crazy because I'm so used to like Mondays. I'm like every Sunday after it, I'm thinking like, okay, tomorrow is the show. Just kind of like getting myself prepared for the week. And then last week I was like, oh no, tomorrow's an extra day. I get to sleep in extra. So it was definitely an
Marietta,
adjustment.
welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, I'm always like prepping for the yeah, I probably should share our community page in the chat while I'm waiting.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
Maybe
we
pull
have
it back
people
up.
joining from India. Shadow, thank you for
Oh
joining us from
wow.
India. You are awake really late.
Yeah, that is true. Um I will share this and then I'll put it in the chat. But so usually on Fridays I'm updating our show page after the show. So this is where you can check out all of the latest episodes. So we keep this up to date. So today we've got the Tale of Building with Kiro,
Mhm.
and we've got all our episodes now with all the great show notes. So oh, it's not. Hold on, it went to a different tab. I don't want to do a tab. Why is it doing that? Hold on.
Oh, like you're trying to navigate to like the main
It's
page.
it's popping it out into a new tab for me, so no
Okay,
one's seeing it.
okay.
So, like for example, our last episode, we've got our summary, our recording, our workshop link here. So that way, if you ever want to tune in, find an old episode. Oh, AWS producer Jeff saying, if you got questions, please put them in the chat, folks. Um,
There you
so
go.
you can check out this. I'll put the link into
And I know
chat.
that like we didn't have it up for some time, and then there were questions actually about people not being able to see it. So now you have a direct, link once again to see the compilation of all of our show notes and all the recordings from previous episodes. So I hope now that that's available, people can catch up with some of the episodes that you might have missed.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hi,
So,
Sammy.
oh, Sammy Sphinx, hey!
Oh,
Oh,
you sure that I hide
we're
it?
fighting each other to get the comment
Hello.
on. We're so excited.
Fun fact, every time that I see the name Sammy, actually, some people call me that. They call me Sammy, short for Samara as well.
Oh, I never. Should I start calling you Sammy now?
Whatever you like.
We've been doing the show. We're just saying for almost 2 years, and we haven't done that.
Exactly. Well,
Um,
welcome everyone. I'm excited for today. How about you, Matt?
yeah, I'm excited. So tell us, Samara, before let's set the stage before we bring our guest in. What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Kiro today, which I think is a pretty cool episode, pretty cool service. I think that, while I was out, you did a lot of deep dive into specific areas of AI and how you can maximize your productivity, whether it is to troubleshoot or to try to start planning your next projects, right? So it's kind of going back into that. Being able to build on AWS by the power of AI and then just planning it out. Being able to concentrate on the areas of like what you want to deploy without actually worrying too much about exactly what way to do it. So I think that this really helps wrap up that, topic of like how I can maximize my productivity and how I can be, I don't know, action driven rather than spend too much time trying to like jump through different hurdles on how to do just that.
Yeah, and I would say for folks that typically on the show we're talking about new features. Sometimes we'll talk about new services, but this is like a net new kind
Mm-hmm.
of paradigm that I think even if a lot of our viewers are pretty experienced with AWS, and some of you guys are just starting, and this is kind of a level set for folks that you're not going to probably know anything about this topic beforehand. So I'm pretty excited to learn.
Yeah, I'm like how you receive it, and please do ask as many questions as you can. There is no, limit on how much you want to learn more about as we deep dive into this.
With that being said, let's bring in our guest today.
Yeah.
Ria, welcome to Tech
Hi.
Welcome,
Tales.
Ria.
Hi, glad to be here.
So, Ria, for our viewers, can you just quickly introduce yourself, what your role is here, and what you do at AWS?
Yep, definitely. Hi, everyone. I'm Ria, and I'm also a technical account manager like Matt and Zamara. I've been at AWS for just a little bit over a year now, and I actually work with Matt on the same team, so I'm really excited to be here. He talks a lot about the show. I've been watching it for a while, so it's like a crazy experience. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you for joining us today, Ria. So, give us a little preview of what you're going to be covering today.
Yep, definitely. So today I'm going to be talking about Kiro, which is Amazon's agentic IDE solution. And it's essentially like an AI coding assistant that like works alongside you from concept all the way to production, right? So I guess I can like pull up my screen to like,
Yep.
Yeah.
okay. So here's the page for Kiro, right? So if you want to get to this, you just have to look up Amazon Kiro, and then you can just go straight to this link. So currently Kiro is in public preview, so everyone can join the waitlist here, and then you can play around with this on your own as well after. But essentially, Kiro is kind of like Visual Studio Code, if you guys have used that, like any IDE, but it just has like agentic capabilities built in alongside it, and it has a lot of like cool features as well on top of like a regular like coding environment that you would have access to. So I think it would just be the most helpful if we switch over to the Kiro IDE itself. So as you can see here, it looks really similar to VS Code. You would just download the Kiro app and then open it right up.
Okay.
So
you can do that straight from the website, right?
yeah. You can go straight to the website and then you can download it. Currently, there's a wait list, unfortunately, because so many people are trying it out right now.
So if you want to try this out in your own environment, get on that wait list now. Don't delay.
Don't delay.
So,
Do it as we speak, so then you know how to.
especially, I think part of this too, and we'll get to it later, but like during this new like trial period, it's free, and then soon we're gonna move to actual pricing.
Yeah, definitely. So currently, while it's in public preview, it is free for you to try out. Okay. So switching over to Kiro, it has a lot of cool features, but I think the best way, instead of just like doing like a presentation at the beginning and like boring everyone, is just like go through building a project so that we can see exactly how it works. So we're going to start with opening up a project, and we're just going to create a new one called Kiro sample. Okay. So we are going to open up our Kiro IDE. And as you can see here, it has a bunch of like extra, like a Kiro tab over here, which has some like new words like specs and agent hooks and steering and stuff, which we're going to be going more into like what exactly all of those different pieces are and like what they mean. But I think like to get started, we're just going to focus on like these two main things that we see here on the screen, which are going to be vibe and spec. So that's like the main, I guess, like sticking point of Kiro is that there's two different ways in which you can interact with your AI assistant. So the first one would be vibe, which is what you may be familiar with, just like chatting with Kiro. It's more like conversational. It's more just like thinking of ideas. Like you're not exactly sure like what exactly you want to do, but you have a general idea. You can chat with the assistant to like understand more and like come up with ideas and sort of like iterate to and fro. So we're gonna go first into vibe mode, and then we're gonna come up with like a sample project that we want to do. So I thought a fun one that we could do is creating like a travel planner app, and just building that with Kiro's help, right? So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna put in just a very simple like prompt to Kiro, and we're gonna say, I want to create a simple travel planner.
And then what I like about this is that you're kind of starting from the moment of the prompt rather than like you have the text editor and you're like, okay, I gotta start coding or start
Yeah.
autofilling code. You're really starting from the idea itself, which is cool.
Yeah, it's like putting together a rough draft of what you kind of want to work towards, which I find it that it's like really cool because that's kind of how I start things. So
Yeah, definitely. Like to start a project with Kiro, it's super easy because all you really need to have is an idea. And then Kiro can kind of like help you figure out the rest and like fill in the blanks in terms of like how you would go about like building that or what like the different features you would want to be and things like that.
Well, really quick, just we have a comment. Sorry if you already answered, but is Kiro open or still? Yeah, it's still waitlist right now.
Yep.
But join that waitlist, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say that I want to create a simple travel planner app, and I'm just going to provide like a little bit more guidance into like what I'm looking for. I want it to be interactive with users, and I want it to be hosted on a Streamlit UI, just so we can like very quickly pull it up and kind of like iterate with it as we go along. And I also like I want to ask Kiro for help here as well. I also want to like I don't know exactly what I would want my travel planner app to have, so I'm just going to ask like what are some of the features that I should consider.
what I like is that you're putting everything from the beginning instead of kind of like going through the cycles of like asking one little line each. So
yeah.
I want to see what it does, how it responds.
Oh, that's so it kind of swings it to the side.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so core planning features.
So it's come up with all of this stuff. So it's like, you know, travel planner app is like perfect for having like a quick user-friendly experience. And then it comes up with some like key features that I possibly would want to have within like a travel planning application. So this could be like, you know, like a budget tracker, like a itinerary builder, things like that. And then also looking, I guess, more into like how the actual web page would be built. It could have like some ideas for like some interactive elements, like integrating with like maps or like weather, or it could also have like other things like a photo gallery or notes and recommendations. And then also like just because this is like an AI assistant, like every time you ask this question, you might get like a slightly different response as well. But that's like sort of like the fun of it too. It's like you're not going to come up with like the exact same output every single time you run this.
Okay.
So we have like this very like basic like idea of like how we'd want to build this, and you can continue like working with Kiro to like figure out like what are some other things that you could add and like things like that. But I think to start out, we would say like this looks pretty good. Like start with building the app, right? So not
Really
only
quick, yeah, I have another comment which I think is funny, which is why not use API gateway as the front end? And to Ken, I would say we haven't even started building anything yet. We're just talking through what we want to build. So maybe we will use API gateway.
Yeah. So like in this phase, we're kind of just like still thinking of like our concept and like our overall idea of what we would want to build. But now we go into like how would we actually like make this into a web page? Like how is the code going to look, right? So Kiro can help us out with that too. So we could say, sounds good. Help me build this web page.
And so with this, it's going to be inclusive of all the points that was shared previously, right? With the data and personalization and all those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it didn't quite get everything that it was talking about, or we feel like some things are missing, you could always go back and like continue working with it, and you could go back and like modify the files and like continue iterating on that as well.
Okay.
I think we have the same kind of thread comment from Mohammed here, which is saying with Kiro, how to apply best practices in terms of security, clean code. So you can continue to prompt and continue to ask for those best practices as you're iterating. Like, oh, we already have code. Look at this.
Yeah. And if you hit this follow button, actually, you can see like the new files that Kiro is generating as it goes along. Like you can see that it created like an app.py file. It created like a README document, and it created like a requirements.txt file as well. So it created all of this code for you, which should create like a very like bare bones like first draft of our website that we want to create. And then it also goes further and it tells you like a quick summary of like the stuff that it's created within these 3 files. And it also gives you some instructions on how you could actually run that app and open it up as well.
So this is the rough draft of what the code will look like, but it's not necessarily building it itself right now.
No, so that was actually going to be my second point.
Okay,
So
okay.
if you notice down here, we have a button that says autopilot. So Kiro essentially runs with like 2 different modes. We have autopilot mode and then we have supervised mode. So if you run with autopilot, it's essentially going to like create all these files like and save them immediately. But if since I have that turned off, it's waiting for my input. So I explicitly have to say, okay, like I look through the files and they look pretty good to me. So I can like either accept or reject whatever Kiro has come up with.
Okay.
So in this case, I'm going to like obviously accept this so that they are actually saved. So if we look back into like our like directory, we have those files that are now like part of our project with like the app.py, the readme, and the requirements.txt.
Okay, so it's just kind of like a matter of like how you want to conduct it, whether you want it to just kind of like go straight into just trusting it from the beginning and then just kind of auto doing it from the start, or you want to have more control over the whole building experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there could be like pros and cons to when you would want to do like either of those, right? Like if you're going with autopilot, maybe it's like a very simple application and you're kind of like in a crunch for time and you just want to like do it quickly. So you might want to go with like autopilot where it's just like immediately doing things and like applying those changes. Whereas with like the one which is supervised, you have like more control over each step. And say like you have like security reasons or something like that, and you really want like more fine-grained control over everything, then you could go with like the supervised mode there.
So it's just based on the requirement of the project and like what you're working with, right? Like if it's something like you just want to get to know the app or get to know how it works and what you can build, and it's just kind of like you could do it. I have a question here from Shadow. It says, what makes Kiro different from other AI editors?
Yeah, so the main differentiator with Kiro versus like other editors, like I think we talked about like CLI before on the show before, is the spec-driven development, which we're actually going to go into next. So if you remember, we have like 2 different modes when you like interact with Kiro. We have like vibe mode and we have spec mode. So right now this is vibe mode, which might be similar to what you've seen before. But after this, like I'm going to show you what spec mode is, and then that's like what really sets Kiro apart. So you just hold on to your question for like 2 minutes.
I also have another one from Ken Walsh that says, so in 4 years of using this, will developer be smarter or just dependent on AI? Which I would say to that, like this is a productivity tool. At the end of the day, what you're trying to get to is what you need to build. Like if you don't know how to code at all, this is a helpful tool. But like, at the same time, like you're still gonna have to do it doesn't remove development. You're just iterating faster.
Yeah.
At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's more about like productivity, like Matt said. Like this helps you like generate like like unit tests or like documentation, like kind of like repetitive, like kind of basic tasks like that. So this can like really help you like move faster with like the more like complex stuff that Kiro might not necessarily be able to do as well as like a seasoned developer necessarily. Okay. So as you can see here, it's also given us instructions for like how to run our app. So let's actually try opening this up within localhost. So it's given us the instructions, but I actually just want to ask Kiro to do it for me.
Okay.
So open up my app in the browser. And so Kiro is going to go through that. So it also comes up with like terminal, like command line instructions for you as well. And you would have to manually go in and like accept those as well. So as you can see,
it's just like a click of a button of you running it rather than just opening up your terminal. Okay.
Yeah, there's also another button where you can like trust this command. So whenever you have like a similar command to this, it would just automatically trust and run this. Or you could just like manually go in and accept each of these individual commands. So as you can see here in the beginning, it's trying to use pip, but that is not necessarily going to work because you have to be in a virtual environment. But Kiro has realized that that is the problem. And so it's going to now create a virtual environment first.
So when you're saying about trusting it, it would just be any other identical command to it. It's not that you already trust all of the commands that you put in there.
No, it would just be similar commands to the one that you've trusted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wants to make sure that you're, if you liked it once, you can like it every time.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's going to be the same. Sammy the Sphinx is asking, good question. By default, would Kiro build cloud native applications on AWS and make use of AWS services?
Yeah, so
that's yes.
Yeah, you could definitely use Kiro to like build with AWS services as well. You would just have to like, add in like your AWS credential in here, and then you would be able to do that as well.
And it also has, like, along with all the other IDEs, integrations with MCPs. So if you really wanted to be context aware of what resources you have out there, what capabilities, you can hook it up to all of the great AWS MCPs.
Yeah, definitely.
One last question, Ria. You're getting a lot of them today. What is the underlying model it uses, and is it interchangeable like others?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you look down here, where you can see that we're currently using Claude Sonnet 3.7. And you have the ability to choose between Claude Sonnet 3.7 and Claude Sonnet 4.0 right here.
And then maybe one day we'll get 4.1. Who knows?
Yeah.
And you switching between them doesn't really affect any of the stuff that you have been building so far.
No, so that's another cool thing about Kiro. So you can see up here, we have like our session defined. If we open up a new one, we can always just switch back to this. And then we also have this other button here called history. So far we've only had one chat session, but essentially you can like restore that session and jump right back to like where you were with Kiro. So it has like that history with you as well. Okay.
It is like do you happen to know if this is like as much as you want, or you can kind of like schedule how much does it contain, like in the last month, or just kind of historically every time that you've interacted?
I'm not sure about that actually. From what I've noticed, like it's whenever I open up like a new session, it like catches all those as like separate. Yeah. But I don't know. That is an interesting question. Okay, so it's set up our virtual environment and set up all the requirements. So hopefully now it should open up our app. Let's see. Okay, open up in my other screen.
And one more comment saying, will Kiro support local model invocation? I think since it's in preview right now, we only have those two models, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Stay tuned.
Okay. So as you can see here, Kiro opened up this browser tab with our localhost. Looks like it's loading a bit, but it should open up our website soon. Okay, awesome. So as you can see here, Kiro's actually come up with like this, like it's very basic, but it's actually pretty good for the amount of time that we've put into like coming up with the idea and like defining kind of like the main things that we'd like. It's come up with this website, which you can plan a new trip, and you can put in a different number of fields here. So let's see like exactly how much this like preliminary website is able to do. So let's say it's our summer vacation to Paris, and let's create our trip. Okay, so looks like we just have this one page right now. You could chat more with Kiro to like kind of come up with like different flows and like where this information would be saved if you want to like create more features to it as well. Let's see. Oh, it actually did save in a different tab. So we have like my trips, and it entered 3 times because I pressed the button because I thought it wasn't working. But we do have like our trips loaded over here. Looks like we can add different like
landmarks, like popular tourist areas,
different things to our itinerary. And it's tracking all of those within our trips as well, which is pretty cool. Let's see what else it came up with. It also has a budget tracker, which I think was one of our like preliminary requirements when we were talking about. So it has like a budget and looks like you can add like different expenses as well.
We're getting a ton of questions. So
Mhm.
Johnny Lamberton is saying, is there a target date for Kiro to release for those on the wait list? I think we're just kind of working through this in batches. So if you join the wait list now, you might get it in the coming days. And then can I build a Netflix like app? I think you have to start asking Kiro.
Yeah.
And see what you can build. We can't. I don't think we can answer that for you. It's for what you to discover. And then I think this is for you, Ria. What has been the experience with it following the instructions? Do you manage context window to ensure it's keeping the instructions aren't being ignored?
I guess
I
just like with the interaction, like, right, as you work
Yeah.
until, yeah.
I feel like it's been pretty good. I mean, it's not like perfect, but like I really like how you can like go back to like a specific like chat. Like for example, if I was working on one feature and I wanted to like go back and like add more details to that specific thing, I can like go back and use this history tab to just like jump right into that session. So I don't have to like start from scratch like I usually have to do with like other like if I close that tab, it like loses all of its like context of like what we were talking about. So it's definitely helpful in that way. And also I think when we move on to like the next part, which is like the spec driven, you can see that it's much more like specific and there's like specific like documentation files that are generated. So it really, and then another thing we're going to be talking about is like the steering files, which essentially set like the tone and like the overall project requirements, which I think is also helpful when you're like interacting with Kiro, because in the future it's going to like use like your first instructions as like context, and it's always going to make sure to like stick with that sort of like overall project vision, if that makes sense.
We
Yeah, it
have
makes sense to me.
another question from Shadow. As the project scales, would the editor be able to handle and manage all of the files efficiently?
Yeah. So what Kira is doing in the back end is that it's like indexing all of the changes that we make. So if you ever feel like when you're chatting with Kiro that like the responses it's giving you are kind of like out of date and it's not really like taking into account like new changes or files that you've added, you could also like manually re-index the code base as well. So actually I think that is a like good like segue point to show this. So if you use the command shortcut like Command Shift P, it opens up the command palette, which essentially like gives you shortcuts to like all of the different like functionality and tools within Kiro. So you could just look up like index. And as you can see here, you have a bunch of options to like force a re-index so that everything is like up to date, and it's taking into account like all of the files that you have. So you could do that like for the entire code base, or you could do that like just for the documentation as well. So that is always something you could try if you feel like Kira is getting a bit out of date with its responses.
All right, cool.
Okay. Yeah, so jumping back to our website, we can see that it has come up with some pretty good stuff, but we want to add another tab, right? And for doing this, we are actually going to switch over to our second type of interaction with Kiro, which is going to be spec.
Okay.
Really quick, we have a backlog of comments. You're very popular. So Docky Nens was saying that they got off the wait list, so they joined when it was announced. So that was
Awesome.
back in I think July. So a few weeks for that. And then they were also asking, you're using 3.7. Do you find that follows the approach better than 4, or are we just using that because that's the default?
Yeah, I mean, so far I've just been sticking with 3.7. I haven't exactly like tried out with 4 too much. But I would assume that the responses should be a little bit better because it's the newer version, but you can play around with that yourself, I guess, and see.
Yeah, I'm finding like everyone gets their preferences now that these versions are so good that sometimes you get used to the the older one, and then when you go to the new one, like it might respond differently. Like, oh, maybe I don't
Yeah.
like the way it's. I feel like you get calibrated to the one that you're using the most. That's just me.
True.
Well, we have Sam saying hi, guys. Hi, Sam. If you're just joining us, welcome. And then we have another comment by Johnny. I signed up for Kiro after the presentation about 4 weeks ago. Still no invite. Really excited to try it out. Hopefully it happens soon. Okay.
Well, if there's anyone tuning in that can get people off the wait list, please help them out.
All right, so the next one that we're going to be talking about is going to be spec. So like I was kind of like talking about a bit before, spec is when you have like when you want to have like thorough like documentation, you want to have like a plan. This could be for like if you have like a complex project or like something that you want to break down and like really define in depth before you go about building. This is when you'd want to go with like spec mode. So let's say that I want to add a new tab, which would recommend outfits for my trip. So let's see what Kiro comes up with. So Kiro says, I'll help you create a spec for adding an outfit recommendation tab to your trip application.
So have you patented this? This is a really good idea.
Yes, it is.
And we're just giving it to everyone for free.
Yeah, so first it's going to go through like our current app structure to like understand what we already have within the project. And basically how spec mode works is it's going to generate like 3 different files. First, it's going to come up with like the requirements. Then it's going to come up with the design. And then it's going to come up with like a task list of how exactly it's going to go about creating that. So if we go to our Kiro folder, you can see that within specs, we have a new one called outfit recommendations. So we can kind of follow along to see like what Kiro is doing here. So as you can see here, it has 3 tabs for like the 3 different items within a spec. So the first one is going to be requirements. So as you can see here, this one's kind of just like user stories of like what you want the user to have within that extra tab. And this is what Kiro came up with based on like what I told it as my idea. And it's going to have like each requirement. So like as a traveler, I want outfit recommendations that consider like weather for my destination, so that I'm like prepared. So it has different things like that. And it's also like interactive with you, right? It doesn't just have to be like what Kiro comes up with on the first shot. You can go through this and like work with it to like make it more useful for you and what you want to do. So I'm going to say this looks good, but I also want to consider like fashion trends of the destination.
Very detailed. I love that.
So it's like, okay, that's a good idea. Let me update this file to include fashion trends for the destination. So it's, you know, going back and modifying the initial requirements doc, and it says that it's added that in as well. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so as you can see, requirement 7 now has like, as a fashion conscious traveler, I want to also take into account like local fashion trends, so I can dress appropriately and like blend in with the local style. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to say, yes, looks good. And then we can move on to the next phase, which is going to be the design.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Simon's asking, what are some best practices you recommend to get the most out of this spec mode? Like what's useful to provide? Like what are you seeing as you've been playing around with Kiro?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just to be like as detailed as you can be when you give it the instructions, right? Because otherwise it's just gonna like guess, and then it might not be exactly what you were thinking of. Like the most like information you can give it about like what you want, the more it's gonna be like tailored to like what you're looking for.
And I think that that's like even, you know, this is an interactive chat, but just think about how you talk about new idea and projects within your team, right? It's a conversation. The more details that you provide, the more details that you share within that team, the better, you know, the output of that project will be. So I feel like with any of this, I think that that's a must, right? So
yeah, definitely. Okay, so we can see that it's created our design file now. And this one is basically like focusing a bit more on like the architecture of the page itself. So it's looking at like, you know, like the UI layer, like the data layer, like different stuff from more of like a technical perspective. It's also looking at like the different components and the interfaces, things like that. It also has like some like more like technical requirements and things listed out here as well. It also like has things like, you know, like unit tests, different things that you might want to think about when you're just like designing in general. But I'm going to say that this looks good and move on to the final piece, which is going to be the task list. Okay. So the final component of a spec is going to be creating a task list. So that is essentially going to look at both the requirements file and the design file, and give you like very specific, like granular, like tasks for you to actually implement that in practice.
So I see that it's saying it's working, but it's giving you the option to follow. So the follow, when you click on it, it's just taking you back to the tasks.
It takes you in real time of what it's generating.
Okay.
Here. Yeah. So it's created this like task file for us. Okay, so as you can see here, it has like, it ties back to like the specific requirements that we defined in the first file. And it has like the different tasks. And then you can also like click on these buttons to actually start each of these tasks or like subtasks as well. So you can go through that also.
Cool.
Yeah, so that is essentially what a spec is. I also want to like pause here and like show some other features that we have within Kiro that I think are pretty cool. So one of the things that you could do is like add context. So you could add a hashtag and you could bring in a bunch of different things as context really. So the first one could be like code base. So if I say hashtag code base, it's basically going to look at our entire like repository, all the files that we have like within this project. And then you can ask questions just about the project in general, right? So you could be like, what programming languages are being used in this project?
We have a couple of comments. One question asking, are the underlying system instructions available or are they kept confidential? I don't think we know what the system instructions are.
Yeah.
But one that we can try to answer is Simon's asking, when working in spec mode, does Kiro track previous spec mode requirements, etc.? Wondering how it avoids regression.
That's an interesting question. I mean, before it starts with creating a spec, it is going to go through like all of the code that you currently have like within the repository. So it is going to like have that as context. I don't know if that would affect whether there would be like overlap between like this spec versus the next spec. Maybe that's something that you could define in like the steering files, which we're going to be like covering next, which basically sets like rules and like requirements for the entire project as a whole. Yeah. Okay, so it's come up with the answer to this. So it's like based on all of the files. So it's gone through like everything that we have within our project. And it's identified that like Python is the main programming language. It also like shows the specific files that it looked at where it saw that like Python was being used. And it also like gives us some more information on like the Python framework for the UI and things like that. So you can ask any question in general of like the entire repository. You could also like reference specific files as well. So say, for example, I had a very specific question just from like, I don't know, like the app.py file. I could just put in, I could reference that file here and ask questions about that. And then another thing, which is actually pretty cool, is the hashtag URL. So here you're able to put in like an actual URL from the web. So we're going to put in the Kiro pricing page and see what it gives us here. So I'm basically just going to say, what is this page about?
That's quick. Wow.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Just gave you like a summary.
Oh, this one is still answered. For some reason, it got confused and it's still answering the previous, like,
The previous.
what programming languages are being used.
Oh, that's why it was so quick.
Yeah, let's try a new session, maybe.
Okay.
Hashtag URL. What is this page about? Okay, now it's got it. So it's basically just summarizing that page from the web, right? Like it doesn't like have this page like saved anywhere within Kiro. It just went to the web and like accessed the URL. And it essentially just like gives you all the information that we have, which is also like a good like point to kind of like quickly talk about like the different pricing tiers for Kiro as well. I'm going to switch over to this page just because it's like more readable. But as you can see, like Kiro has different subscription levels, and like obviously we have a free one as well. And the reason I really wanted to differentiate between like Vibe and Spec is because like as you can see here, like how much you pay for Kiro really depends on like how many Vibe and Spec requests that you have as well.
So I have an interesting question here from Erie. It says, I see a picture icon on the prompt window. Could you upload an infrastructure diagram or whiteboard drawing and add a text prompt to help build the app?
Yeah, you definitely can. I haven't played around with it myself just because I didn't get time. But it does say in the documentation that you could upload like an architecture diagram or like a flow diagram. And Kiro is able to like use that as context and use that for like building the project too, which is really
cool.
So when we're talking about projects, right? So right now this one essentially is just one, but in the time that you have been kind of deep diving into it, if you have more than one that you're working on, are you able to kind of switch back and forth between the different projects to kind of like continue your build on those?
Yeah.
Kind of like a library.
Yeah, I mean, you could always just open up like a new window and have the different project on there and work on it there. Yeah. Okay. So I think that was what I wanted to cover with the hashtag. Oh, and then the last one was hashtag terminal, which you can essentially use for like referencing things that you ran in the terminal. We haven't really done much directly on the terminal, but it essentially like looks at everything that's been run on the terminal as context, and it can like help you with debugging and things like that, which is super helpful. So like, for example, you can say, what errors did I face? And how to fix them. Okay, so you can see that we had like one like error, like deprecation warning, that when we ran through our different like terminal commands, it basically like tells you how to fix that as well. So this is also like a game changer in terms of like debugging different things within your project.
Which is pretty cool because essentially, right, like you're brainstorming your idea, getting prepared for a project, and this should be included in your run books as a, reference as to the things that may actually be kind of blocking you from continuing to work on things and how to overcome them. So I think that this is actually very useful as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We have a good question, which is, will Kiro subscription be covered by AWS credits? So the team management, billing management features aren't built yet. So everything's an individual subscription for now, but I think in the fullness of time, there'll be more management around how this gets built, and maybe.
Okay, so all right, so let's look at some of like the key features within Kiro, right? I want to make sure that we cover these before we run out of time. But the first one we went through was the spec. So we had like our outfit recommendation spec with its like 3 different components. The next one that we have is agent hooks. So let's go and try to add a hook. And essentially what a hook is like, it's a trigger, right? So you can set triggers to automatically kick off whenever different things happen within your project. So this could be like a file being added, a file being modified, or like something being deleted. You can be like, when like a file is added, I want like so-and-so action to happen. So you can set those hooks. So I'm going to say, I want, or every time, a file is saved, I want to update the corresponding documentation files. And as you can see here, it's like super easy to create hooks because you're just like essentially defining them in natural language. You don't have to like, set up any like complex logic or anything like that. You can just chat with Kiro. And as you can see here, it's creating a hook every time file saved. And it's already created the hook for me. It's come up with the title, it has a description, and it happens on the event that a file is saved.
File saved.
I feel like we're not gonna, like, in a few more years, like, no one's gonna know the dread of a blank screen.
Yeah.
Like, it's just gonna be like, oh, you need to do it, boop.
It's like immediate.
Immediate.
But yeah, you can see here that like these are the different events that you could do. You could also do manual triggers to like set off different actions. Yeah, so that's essentially what a hook is.
And then it also gives you the files in the path of that hook, I am assuming, right? The ones in reference to the command. Okay.
Yeah, you can also modify this as you want to. Something else you could use this for, like if you're deleting a file, you could set up a hook like every time a file is deleted, like update all of the import statements in other files that might throw an error because that file no longer exists. So that could be like another helpful way.
Just like a redirection, so then there is no impact to like the user experience. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one that we're going to look at is going to be steering files. So essentially what steering files is, they're basically like guiding agent behavior and responses. It's basically setting like the requirements and the tone of the entire project. So this one also similar to like what we saw with specs, it's going to create like 3 different files. It's going to create like a product file, it's going to create a tech file, and it's also going to create a third file as well. So let's actually follow through with these. So as you can see, it created 3 different files for us. The first one is going to be the product file, which is just like the like overarching like purpose of this entire like project, who are like our target users, what's like our product philosophy, things like that, just like overarching vision sort of things. And then we also have like a tech specific steering file, which is going to like define like like the frameworks and libraries that we want to use in here, what's like our architecture like, and it's also going to have things like how do we set up the project, and different code patterns, things like that. And then we also have a third file, which is going to be like the structure file, which is just going to have like the repository structure, how the application is like built, things like that. So the main purpose of these is that when you continue to chat with Kiro now, after these steering files are generated, like Kiro is first going to go and reference these, and it's going to like follow that same like patterns when it continues to build.
So it's just like, imagine it as a set of instructions there to always guide you through.
Definitely.
That's always funny to me because I am not a developer, so I'm like, wow, people are doing all these files just by hand up until a couple years ago. I'm sorry, folks. Let us know in the chat how many of these files that you've had to write.
Yeah, Kiro and like I guess other AI assistants in general are just really good at like creating all of these like documentation sort of files, which can be kind of annoying to do like by hand. So this really helps with that. Okay, and then the last thing that I wanted to call out is the MCP servers. So Kiro has like MCP servers natively integrated within its environment. So another cool thing that I wanted to highlight here is that you can configure your MCP servers at the user level, and also at the workspace level, right? And the main difference is that if you configure at the workspace level, it's just going to be within this project. But if I do it for the user level, it's going to be like for all the projects that I work on with my user.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool because then you might have different servers that you'd want to set up for different projects that you like. Yeah, maybe you don't need AWS documentation server for every one of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And the way that you would like configure this server is super simple. If you switch over to like the Kiro documentation, like you go over to the docs, you can just go straight to MCP, and then it has like a section called servers, and it just gives you like straightforward directions of how you would do this. So like, for example, like the AWS documentation server, if you wanted to set that up, you could just basically copy this in here as well.
I've been always messing up my brackets. I don't know if everyone else has this. I keep
Yeah,
adding new servers. I keep messing up the brackets. Nothing loads. Then I gotta go find which line I messed up on.
Which
Yeah.
bracket is out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those were like the main like points that I really wanted to touch up on. Are there any like questions or something that you want to see?
Robert Table said NeoVim. By the way,
By the way,
are you saying because this is Kiro? It's not. Is it because are you referencing Vim the editor, or are you referencing something else? And if folks want, we've got a couple minutes. If you just want us to prompt, we're ready.
We have another one. It says Iris asking, are there any limits to programming languages? So what does it support as of right now?
That's a good question. I'm not actually sure. I'm not sure if you know, Matt.
Let me see if I can find it.
No. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. This is not an exclusive list. I'm pulling this from the website, folks. Python, Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, C+. Go, Rust, PHP, Ruby, Kotlin, C, C#, shell scripting, SQL, Scala, JSON, YAML, and HCL, but that is not an exhaustive list.
You have a pretty yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, Robert Table says go.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you look back at our like history tab now, you can see all the different sessions that we had as well. So you can like jump back into something. So like this was the one where we were talking about like the pricing page. You can just like restore that session and go right back to where you left off.
That's cool. Did you ever actually deploy the one with the outfits?
No, I hadn't. Let's see. Tasks. Yeah, so you can like manually kick off these tasks. Let's see.
I'm interested to know what your what it's gonna recommend for the Eiffel Tower.
I don't know if we'll have time to get through like all of these requirements.
No, of course not. I was just being curious since we had a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But so far, this is like actually pretty amazing. I like how easily interactive it is, and like at the same time, it gives you like so much breakdown, which is like, a lot of what we have seen before with these productivity tools. But I feel like it's pretty straightforward, at least from my perspective. I don't know. What do you all think in the audience? Is this something that you guys are gonna go and like get on the wait list to play around with?
I feel like a lot of our audience is already on the wait list.
Yeah, they're like, we're on the wait list. We're waiting.
You can also follow with what Kiro is doing in the back end if you go to the output and you go to like Kiro logs. It's pretty cool. So it's running into some problems. Let's see.
So what's it trying to do right now?
Oh, it's trying to do our hook of like auto updating documentation every time a file's saved.
Oh, okay. I need that in my real life.
I wish I could.
For the show. I want it to, when the show is over, update my documentation for me.
The show notes and everything, just like auto deploy it into the page.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that it's like a use case for me with my weekly planner. Like I have to update it manually every single week. And it's like if something gets moved or changed, just like do it.
So it's just cooking.
Yeah, it's just going through the motions of it. And this is after you kickstarted the deployment of like the whole outfit requirement that you put for the tab, right?
Yeah, I mean, I basically just asked Kiro. I was like, just start making that extra tab. So it should be able to go in and like find the relevant files and just kick that off for us.
Okay.
So that's basically what it's doing here.
A lot of tokens. It's working overtime.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, I mean, this is kind of a basic call to action, folks. Get on the wait list. Kick the tires. Check it out. I don't know. What I guess what's the thing that surprised you the most, Ria? Like you've been working with Kiro for a few weeks now. Like where did this surprise you versus just using QCLI?
I feel like this one is just I don't know how to describe it, but it just like creates like more in line with like what I like envision. And I think it's because it has like all of these different steps, like, you know, like with the steering files, like setting like the overarching like requirements. And then like especially with the spec mode, like it's so detailed. I feel like it's hard to like go wrong with that. Whereas with QCLI, like I've created a lot of websites with QCLI and it's just like so random and like not really useful to me, you know?
This is good for me because I need to build some stuff, and I tried it with QCLI, and I
Yeah.
even tried to get like a really specific prompt, and then when it gave back, I was like, no, this isn't what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I feel like this one's just like very interactive with us. Like there's so many like points too where it's just like I don't know, where you can like chat with it and really like have it understand what you want, which I think is like separate from like QCLI.
Yeah.
I like you referenced this, but I like that you have the option to go back to like your previous interactions with it and like continue building from that. So sort of like you start with like point A, but now you want to add B, C, and D to it. And
Yeah.
it seems like it's a lot more straightforward rather than having to go back and build it from scratch, which I think that is like the biggest things too.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if it came up with it on the site.
Let's take a last look at our special travel planner.
Oh, it
Oh, yeah,
actually
you
did
did.
add a
Oh,
page.
outfit planner. Okay, let's try it out. We got a couple minutes left.
New
Okay,
trip.
new trip.
Paris.
So, folks, while we're testing this, I just wanted to plug that we've got the rest of the schedule for September up on our site. So next week we're continuing the AI journey. We're going to talk about how to use an AI hybrid gateway. So if you've got models that are floating out there that you want to grab that aren't in Bedrock, let's say, how do you do it? And then the week after that, we're going to do something very exciting, very new, right, Tamara?
Yeah.
We're going to be hosting a bunch of essays in a hackathon, and whoever wins that hackathon will be coming on the show to talk about their accessible app. So I'm super excited for that.
Super exciting. I don't think we've ever done something like this before, but actually, I know that we have like a minute left. So maybe to answer this one last question, if you can, Erie wants to know, is there a way to export the conversation? Assuming that he's referring to the conversation and interaction with Kiro, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about kind of having a... Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm actually not sure if you can export this. I know that they are saved like within the project, but I think I'd have to look back into like for how long they would be saved in here.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I think that we have
Go back to
okay. I think that we have hit our time limit, but thank you all so much for joining today. I am so glad that you all learned so much and you guys are so excited. Some of you are already on the wait list, so can't wait to hear the feedback and the things that you have built. Thank you, Ria, for joining us.
Of course.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Thanks so much.
We really hope to have you back soon.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. We'll be here same time next week at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ria.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.